21 rebounds, 47 minutes played, and now 60 points for the first time.
There it was, a performance that'll go down in the history books as one of the most amazing moments in NBA history. And it was all done by a 23-year-old kid with a skill set unlike anyone, ever. Luka Doncic might hold the label for the greatest regular season game ever played in NBA history. And now, at 24 years old, he's already knocking on the door of the Basketball Hall of Fame. I mean, this guy's been building up his Hall of Fame basketball legacy since his early teenage years. But again, on December 27, 2022, Luka achieved a 60-point triple-double and became the first player in the nearly 80-year history of the NBA to record a 60-20-10 game. Players go a lifetime without putting up these kind of numbers. From MJ, Kobe, LeBron, Shaq, Kareem, even Wilt Chamberlain. Actually, except for maybe one, because nearly 5 years earlier, James Harden put together his own version of a 60-point triple-double, and though it wasn't as impressive statistically as Luka's, it reminds us that there is a crazy comparison to be made between number 77 and prime number 13 from his Houston Rocket days. Now, while both are stat machines, the biggest similarity in their game is actually deeper than that. Their movement. See, neither are insanely speedy or insanely explosive athletes, but what they share is their ability to facilitate an offense and score in ways that just seem impossible to defend. Mainly with that step back both of them have absolutely perfected over the years. Watch how identical they look with the ball in their hands. The use of the pick and roll, how they use a combination of ball handling and upper body strength to create space. There's nothing fancy or fast about them. They're just offensive juggernauts who have the game on a string. Both of them are ball dominant and dictate the offense. Harden in his prime was top 3 in usage rate from 2018 to 2020, and every season since 2020, Luka has either been 1 or 2 in the NBA usage rate. But now that Harden has passed his prime, I think this kid from Slovenia will play like a prime Harden and will continue to amaze us in similar ways, even by doing things I never even thought were possible. But believe me when I say this, he hasn't just amazed me or you. He's left the greatest of NBA players with their mouths hanging open with his continued mastery on the court. Just start from the top of the league. Steph, KD, LeBron, and so many others have said great things about Luka. And speaking of LeBron...
Who's your favorite player growing up in the NBA that you admire?
LeBron James.
So I would assume that LeBron is the matchup that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, of course, because, I mean, I always looked at him. He's like my idol, so I'm looking forward for that, yeah.
By me playing the game the right way, always getting my teammates involved and playing for the purity of the game, I was able to inspire a kid that wasn't even in America. And that's pretty special. And obviously we see what he's capable of doing. His ability to make plays not only for himself, for his teammates, to rebound and just play for the pure love of the game. It's a beautiful thing to watch.
That was LeBron James on Luka Doncic after the two stars showcased on live television one of the all-time teacher versus student duels. Both players finished the game with triple-doubles, and Luka once again made a lasting impression on LeBron, though the King ultimately came out on top that night. But imagine this. You spend your entire childhood looking up to one of the greatest athletes to walk the planet, and then you go toe-to-toe with him in a game and hear him gush that kind of praise for you? It's got to be a dream come true 1,000 times over. But then again, that game was from over 4 years ago. Since then, Luka hasn't just continued to build a legacy. He's put himself on a pedestal that few players in the history of the game have ever reached. See, what defines a young player more than anything is how he responds to playing on some of the game's biggest stages. Look, less than 5 years ago, we were discussing if the Atlanta Hawks were correct in making a draft day trade for Trae Young in exchange for Luka Doncic. Fast forward 5 years later, Luka is averaging 27, 8, and 8 on a 58% true shooting percentage and boasts a 25.3 player efficiency rating for his career. And he has firmly established himself as one of the best under 25 players to ever play in the NBA. I mean, if his career ended today, he's already achieved more than 98% of players could ever dream of under 400 games played. I think we know who won that trade. But since that 2018 draft, his rivalry hasn't exactly been with Trae Young. Luka prefers the brightest spotlights on the biggest stages. Take this game, for example, which will go down as one of those classics that we look back on years later. Clippers, Mavs, a series-altering Game 4, and one of the all-time memorable game winners by one of the game's bright young stars. Well, let's get one thing straight here. We knew Luka would be special, we knew he would win playoff games, but did we even remotely expect arguably the most incredible playoff debut in NBA history to come from a 21-year-old Slovenian? Probably not. None of us did. And on top of that, Luka Doncic would be put to the test against what many people call the best perimeter defense in the NBA, led by a multiple Defensive Player of the Year winner in Kawhi Leonard, and a couple of guys in Patrick Beverley and Paul George who made the all-defensive team multiple times in their career. Fast forward to Game 4 with the Mavericks on the brink of facing the dreaded 3-1 deficit. 3.7 seconds left. 133-132 in overtime.
Back to Doncic. Doncic pulls up, three-pointer. Bang! Bang!
He did that against a Clippers team that was the odds-on favorite to come out as champions in the NBA bubble. If we look at it by the numbers, Luka, in 13 career playoff games against these same LA Clippers, is averaging better than 33 points per game. And that includes the first playoff game of his career against LA, which saw him claim the record for the most points by a player in their NBA playoff debut. That's why in the following 2021 postseason, the Clippers were put on notice this time, and they understood what Luka was about. So this time around, Patrick Beverley made sure he got the Luka assignment from the get-go. But he didn't have the easiest time in the world.
Decisive with what you're going to do as an offense.
The Mavs may have lost in 6, but the Clippers had no answers for Luka. He averaged a wild 36, 10, and 8 on 48% shooting.
Turnaround shot is good.
And he put Beverley in his place so fast and taught him a lesson so harsh that he started going on national television to talk about how good Luka is and what a nightmare he is to defend.
They have no one that can guard Luka. They have no one that can really guard any position. They put themselves in a bad position this last couple games.
But here's the biggest thing that we were beginning to notice from Luka. We knew he was all-world talent. We knew his peers in the NBA caught on to his greatness and even praised him a couple of times publicly. But what we didn't know is that this man had a killer instinct, unlike any other player in the NBA. See, a lot of guys in the NBA, they'll talk trash to get in their opponents' heads, and many times their trash talking disrupts their opponents just enough to where they can't stay on their game. But some guys get trash talked, can hear it, absorb it, and spit it right back at you. And these guys are some of the most mentally tough athletes of all time. And Luka Doncic is one of those athletes. And the evidence just screams it. Now our timeline takes us to 2022, when one of the most memorable Luka moments took place. Luka walks back to the locker room saying the Suns are all gassed up after one win. And he said it with that nasty attitude too, not even a little hesitant. This was a 23-year-old who had played in relatively few playoff games thus far in his career, and to say something like that after getting blown out in a pivotal Game 5 to trail 2-3 in the series, about a team that represented your conference in the last season's NBA Finals. That's some serious confidence right there. Oh, wait.
27-point lead, down goes Johnson, free.
In the first half of that Game 7, Luka scored 27 points. And Devin Booker had 2 points, with a whopping 0 of those 2 points coming from an actual field goal. Luka didn't just outscore Devin Booker, he outscored Devin Booker and Chris Paul combined. And he had the same number of points as the entire Phoenix Suns roster in that first half, a moment that'll go down in history. But then again, Luka has undoubtedly been the brightest part of the Mavs organization since they drafted him back in 2018. And thanks to Luka's heroics, the Mavs have been a contender for the most part. Until last season. Surprisingly, even with the loss of a star like Jalen Brunson, the Mavs sat at the 4th spot in the West at the end of January before pulling the blockbuster trade for Kyrie Irving. But as we all know too well by now, with their loss against the Chicago Bulls late in the season, the Mavs post-trade deadline fell to an 8-13 record with Kyrie joining Luka in the backcourt. And yes, they officially missed the playoffs, which led to Luka and the fan base feeling some type of way. But here's a young superstar expecting his franchise will put him in the best position to contend for a championship for many years to come. But with the last season's drama and turmoil, there were some concerns among Mavs fans that Luka wouldn't be around much longer if things continued to go the way they were. Look, the clock ticks faster, especially when you have a very young, generational superstar like Luka Doncic. According to reports that came out from last season, Luka could even demand a trade if things suddenly go south for the Mavs like they did last season. If you don't move quickly to improve the roster and build a contender around your superstar, you're in trouble. The great ones are never patient. And in the modern NBA, where trade demands are seemingly happening around the clock, you can never be certain that you have your superstar locked in for the long run. But as far as some good news for Dallas, Luka's Mavs have started the season on a high note after last year's shortcomings, and Luka himself has hit the ground running again. He's healthy, posting career highs from the three-point line, the free throw line, and is tallying his best true shooting percentage of his career. With huge performances already this season, like his 49 points against the Brooklyn Nets and a 44-piece against those poor Clippers. This season has high hopes in Dallas, and dare I say he has the chance to become the first European player to be considered the face of the NBA? At this point, I don't doubt anything from this man. Alright, that's it for today's video. Let us know what you think down in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.